Action figure reboots. Sponsored by Pearson Art.
Hello, and welcome back. Today we're looking at an Azrak Hemway Incorporated, or AHI Dracula. It was released in 1974 as part of their official world famous Super Monsters line, which included Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and even the creature from the Black Lagoon. Monster lines back then weren't unusual. Mego had one. A company called Lincoln had a line as well. But what made AHI unique was that their line was based on the Universal monsters from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And if that wasn't cool enough, the head sculpts they used for these figures were taken from the Aurora model kits of the 1960s. Back in 1974, I really didn't know who these characters were because I hadn't really seen any of their movies. Up till then, the only movie that I ever saw them in was the one with Abbott and Costello, which is still my favorite, by the way. Now, even though the heads were based on the Aurora model kits, Dracula has three different head sculpts, and that may have had something to do with Bela Lugosi's son retaining the likeness rights from Universal for his father's estate. I really don't know. There's very little known about this company, but he did have three different head sculpts. This is the first one. This is what I understand to be the first edition of these heads. Um, Again, really don't know a lot about this company. The variations are crazy. There's really no two that look the same. It's insane. But this is the first one, from what I understand, and it was made out of a harder plastic, not a soft vinyl. This is the second one. Now, this is the head I think looks the most like Aurora's model kit. It is made out of the softer vinyl, and I think it looks the most like Bela Lugosi. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. Now, this is the third one. This one I think is the weakest of the three. This one really doesn't look like Bela Lugosi or the Aurora model kit. Not a great Dracula head, but it might work if you used it for maybe a Mr. Hyde if you were doing a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde set. I don't know. In any case, for today's reboot, I'm going to go with this head. I like this one the best. So I picked this one up off of eBay. As you can see, it's not too bad. It needs a little work, but not much. So I modified it just a little bit, and this is what I came up with. As you can see, I didn't do much. I cleaned it up. I redid the hair, the eyebrows. I didn't do much because I really didn't want to. I wanted to keep that AHI charm. I like this head. I wanted to keep it as close to the original as I could. All right, we have the head. Now we need the body. I knew from the onset that I wasn't going to go with the one AHI made. As you can see, it I don't know, it looks kind of wonky. It's not very good. So instead, I'm just going to go with the standard Mego body. The AHI heads have the same kind of neck plug, so or somewhat same as Mego had, so there's no problem there. Now we need the suit. When making a Dracula figure, I think the two most important things you have to do is get the head right and get the cape right. I feel sometimes when companies make Dracula figures, a lot more emphasis is on the suit, the tuxedo, than it is on the cape. And I think the cape is really what makes the character. Case in point, back in the 90s, this figure was produced by a company called Flat World. And I actually picked up one of these, but years after it had come out, they were on eBay. Somebody must have had a bunch of them. They were selling pretty cheap. And it wasn't a bad figure or anything like that. As you can see, the tuxedo is very well made. It looks great. It's very well fitted, but the cape seems secondary. And I actually think the cape is the best part of the suit. And for that reason, I'm going to be using that for my reboot. For the suit itself, I actually got this Phantom of the Opera figure that came out some years back, and I'm using this suit specifically because it doesn't have a collar. You can't really see so much in this picture, but the tie is actually sewn into the suit, so I just removed that and it ended up looking like this. I specifically didn't want a collar because it would just get in the way of the cape. For the tie, I'm just going to use this. It's just a bow tie with an elastic band, goes right around the neck. It'll work fine. As for the jacket, I'm not going to give him one at all. I'm just going to go with these black arms and white hands. I think a jacket would just be another layer that would get in the way, so I'm going to forego it altogether. For the shoes, I'm going to go with these. These are also from the Flat World figure. They're also very well made too, and they fit perfect. So, okay, we got all the parts. Let's put it together and see what we got. All right, I like this. I like the way the cape sits. I like the way it hangs. I like that it's not all bunched up or hanging off the back. It's good. I know the tie and the vest are the wrong color. They should be white, but I don't know. This suit was actually perfect for this figure. So you could say it's a Dracula that appeared on Broadway. You could go with that excuse. But, the AHI had a black tie and it had a red sash. So I think this is kind of a step up. The collar looks good. It's not too big. It fits under the neck pretty good. It stays on the neck pretty good too. Yeah, I think this was a good choice for a cape. I'm really happy with it. And the suit fits nice too. I like the way the tie fills in the gap between the two sides of the collar. That looks good. Yeah. I mean, there's not really much you could say about it because the cape is covering most of it. I'm really happy with the head though. I like it. I like this AHI head. I'm glad this is the one I went with. I I don't know. I always had a soft spot for these figures. I like that it still looks vintage, but it's a little more updated. Got rid of that bad body and that pretty bad tuxedo and the really bad cape. This is a nice compromise. Best of both worlds. So I guess that about wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember and never forget, think outside the box.